Ladies and gentlemen, may I please have your attention? Please kindly take a seat. Our session is about to begin. We are now coming to the end of the first week of WEP, and what a journey, if you reflect on it, it has been so far. It has taken us from the edges of science, such as extreme bionics and electric vehicles, all the way towards the North Pole. We had very thought-provoking discussions on such issues as neurodiversity and the edges of art. Thank you very much for joining us for our distinguished speaker talk today. My name is Saule. I'm a PhD student here at KAUST at the Center for Desert Agriculture. I'm thrilled and delighted to welcome our guest speaker today, as she is Raha Moharrak, and she literally will take you to the top of the world in her talk. Raha is the youngest Arab and the first Saudi woman to conquer the Mount Everest. Besides climbing to the top of the world, Raha also conquered the 7 summits, the highest mountains on each continent. Raha is a prime and inspiring example of fortitude, bravery, and pushing the boundaries. Before our exciting talk today, and I hope you're super excited for that, I would like to do some housekeeping notes. Please do not forget to join us at 2 o'clock for a panel discussion sponsored by the Saudi Youth for Sustainability and Office for Sustainability. There will be a very, very special surprise there that you don't want to miss. So 2 o'clock, panel discussion, please. As you know, at 5, we will have the talk by Didier Drogba. And in the evening, you will have a very special jazz concert, a black tie event. So please dress to impress. So now, here to introduce Raha is our center manager for the Center for Desert Agriculture, Anna Rautek. As you know, the talk will be 1 hour with 15 minutes Q&A. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Anna and Raha. Thank you.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the auditorium on day 5 of WEP, the last day of this week, for today's lunchtime lecture. So already mentioned, my name is Anna Rautek. I'm the center manager in the Center for Desert Agriculture, and I'm delighted to introducing Raha Moharrak to you today, who will deliver today's lunchtime lecture entitled Find Your Everest. Saul already mentioned it, but Raha is the first Saudi and the youngest Arab who conquered the Everest. And if you add to the list of achievement climbing the highest mountain in each of our continents, which is called the 7 summits, this Jeddah-born adventurer, I'm pretty sure she has pushed social, emotional, and definitely physical boundaries. Raha graduated with a bachelor in visual communications from the American University of Sharjah, and then she joined a leading advertising agency, but her life definitely changed the day she summited Kilimanjaro. It was there between the clouds, standing on Africa's roof, that she felt that nothing could hold her back from her adventure and her love of adventure. Kilimanjaro opened the doors to a global challenge for her. And on May 18th, 2013, basically a year after seeing this legendary mountain, Raha made history by being the first Saudi woman to summit Mount Everest, going on to complete all 7 highest mountains in each continent. We're so pleased to welcome you here today to KAUST, Raha Moharrak. And we will start, I think, with a brief video before we welcome her on stage with us.
I'm afraid of losing my life to the mountain and not returning to my family. But I'm also afraid of not really living. I asked my father permission to climb mountains, and his response was a quiet no. From the moment I opened my eyes, I was a dreamer. Until the moment they close, I'll strive to realize them. What I fear the most is what moves me. And up there I fight my demons. My fear of giving up far exceeded my fear of the mountain, because I would not accept the shadow of myself. It's my dream to see a generation of girls where there are no longer any firsts, because all of them have been conquered. And if by sharing my story I can help even one girl inch closer to her dreams, then my efforts would have been worthy. I climb so that the only mountains the next generation of women scale out of rock and ice, and the only weight they carry is a trophy, and the only lines they face are the finish lines. This is why I climb.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Not everyone is going to climb Everest that's in the Himalayas. That was my destiny, but not every single one of you will climb that specific Everest. But every single one of us has an Everest to climb. Whether it's that dream job, or that dream family, or that dream trip, every single one of you has an Everest that you need to find and climb. This is the story of my Everest. It just happens to be the actual Everest in the Himalayas. But this is my story. Where do I start with a story I never imagined I would tell? Never in my wildest dreams did I think myself capable of actually living my wildest dreams. But I'm going to start from the beginning. I was born in Jeddah, Hay Rawda. Anyone knows Hay Rawda? One of the flattest places on earth. I was born there to a father who always told me to reach for the stars. He always used to believe in me and make me dream of big things. And a mother who always instilled in me the sense of purpose and the sense of wonder and dreams. So for the longest time, when I was a little girl, I always tried to fit inside a box of an expectation that I didn't really agree with. Because I was a little girl and everybody was trying to figure out how to handle someone like me. I was always very spirited. I wanted to do every single thing my brother did, but better. I wanted to be a better a runner, a better football player than him. I always wanted to compete with my brother and my sister. So from this big, I was different. And for the longest time, I tried to fit into the little box because I wanted to fit in, because I thought that's what you do. But my spirit and my character and my love of life and my sense of adventure was far bigger than that little box. So I reached a certain point in my life after I finished school, I graduated, I went to university. Because I was a very, very naughty student in school, I decided to be an excellent student in university, and I was. I threw myself into my studies in university. I actually made the dean's list, which was like incredible considering I was not a good student in school. But there was something inside me that was just wild and wanted to go out and wanted to go and explore the world. So after I finished university and I got my new job, I stayed there for a while, and I was very happy. I stayed in an agency for a while. But still, that sense of a calling that was pulling me towards the world was very, very strong, and that's what I want you to listen to in yourselves. We all reach this crossroads in our life where you have a more traditional road or a more expected road or the easier road, and then a road that's very difficult and dark and very hard, and sometimes that's where the magic is. So, of course, I didn't want to go down the easy road. As fate might have it, it wasn't even a road, it was a mountain. I decided to find something new. I decided to discover something new about myself after I started my first job. So in between trying to figure out, I'm going to continue, I'm going to move back, what's happening in my life, I opened up myself and my soul to the world, and I was searching for the answer of a little girl who was Raha, who was 6 years old. Are you going to be who you always dreamt of being? So I was wondering, if I spoke to my 6-year-old me, would I be able to answer her honestly? Did I become the person she wanted, which is an adventurer? And the answer was no. So I went out to the world and I was trying to search for an adventure. I was trying to search for something that was different and new and that would take me outside my comfort zone. And it was scary because I had no idea what I was doing. I had a job. How am I going to leave the job and go exploring the world? But again, I listened to my gut, and my gut told me that I was destined for more. So subhanAllah, when I was trying to figure out what I was doing, I was in the right place in the right time. I was sitting with a group of people. It was like a Ramadan tent, and I didn't know really the people very well at the time, but one of the girls randomly mentioned, she said, oh, I'm going to climb the highest peak in Africa on the Eid break. And as soon as she said that, I looked at her and I was like, you're going to do what? She said, yeah, it's a group of people, we go climbing, it's in Tanzania, it's called Kilimanjaro. And I immediately looked at her and I was like, isn't Kilimanjaro a fruit? I had no idea what Kilimanjaro was. But she's like, no, it's actually a mountain that you climb. And the more she talked about it, the more that fire in me was ignited, the more that sense of purpose was stronger. She's like, would you be interested in coming with me? And I looked at her and I'm like, yeah, why not? Why? Tell me more about it. So the more I read about Kilimanjaro, I fell in love with the idea of going and climbing a mountain, especially during this time in my life where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And you won't believe what was the ignition for me, what was the reason I decided to climb Kilimanjaro. It wasn't because it was a beautiful mountain, because it was. It wasn't because it's an adventure, because it was an awesome adventure. It was people's reaction to my decision to climb Kilimanjaro. So I have to remind you that this was 10 years ago. We're not in that era anymore. But then, when I was telling people that I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro, everyone just looked at me like, are you nuts? Like, this is, but how? You're a girl. How are you going to go? This is just, all of the things that you always hear when someone doesn't believe in your dream. And the more people told me I can't climb it, the more I was insisted on wanting to climb this mountain. Because no one should tell you what you can and cannot do. No one should dictate what your capabilities are. And that was it. That was the decision I made, that I'm going to climb this mountain. But of course, it's not enough, coming from my background to decide I'm going to take a backpack and go climb a mountain in Africa. I needed to speak to my father and explain to him that I'm going to live in a tent for 8 days in the middle of nowhere. So I called him, and I remember the conversation. He was just, kan masdoom. He was shocked. He was like, why? Why would you want to go and live in a tent? And I'm like, because I can, and this is my dream, and I want to do this. And he just didn't understand. But in the end, a father's love is incredible. And he said, okay, I think you're insane, but if this is what you want to do, then I will support you. Then, okay, then do that mountain and come back, and that's it. Don't do any more mountains. I'm like, okay, one, just one. Taban, that's not the case. I barely trained. I had no idea what mountaineering was. I was so not prepared. I bought my climbing jacket from Dubai Mall, from a store that isn't a climbing store, because I liked the buttons. They were gold. Zero planning. I just thought, oh, this is a nice jacket. And of course, I was freezing to death, nearly freezing to death. I actually got snow blindness. I don't know if you know what it is. It's when, because there's a layer of water between the outside layer and your eye, and that can freeze. But I'm wearing a jacket from some fufu store that didn't make me warm. So 2 months later, really bad jacket, no training whatsoever, I went to Africa to climb my very first mountain. And I was cold, I was tired, I was afraid, but I tell you, this moment I reached the summit of Africa, and I saw the sky from that altitude for the first time, it was incredible. It felt like I belonged there. It felt like this was my destiny. It's incredible to go to a place you've never been before, to do something you've never experienced before and feel like it's your destiny. And that's such a special moment I hope each and every one of you finds in your life. It doesn't have to be in the middle of the mountains because it's very cold, but there's always this magical moment in your life when you realize your destiny, and that was mine. So I stood on the top of Africa's roof, half snowblind, freezing, and I felt so alive. I felt incredibly capable, and I had this sense of grandiousness, and I was like, I love this feeling, and I will not stop climbing. This is not the last time I'm going to feel a summit rush. And surely enough, haram to my parents, I came back to my mom's house, wind blown, like my face was burned, like really skinny. I looked like a cat that was left outside in the winter, and I walked into my mom's house, and I was so happy, and my dad was like, what is wrong with you? And he's like, are you happy now? You're done? I'm like, there's something called the 7 summits. And my dad was like, you want to climb more mountains? I'm like, yeah. And that was it. For 10 years, I climbed bigger and higher and further and more difficult mountains, and I prepped and I trained myself, and I promised myself I will never, ever, ever be unprepared, cold, and weak in any climb after the first one. And I promised myself I'll train. I went to the volcanoes in Mexico to train. I went to Seattle to do survival training with ex-Marines. I did everything I needed to do to prep myself. And while I was going through this journey, I realized that I was the only one doing this. I was usually the only female in the team, and more so, the only person from this region in the team. So I realized that this is something new. People aren't doing this. I just didn't realize that I was the first one to do this. It all hit me the moment I reached, I think, mountain 6 or 7, and then the guide suggested that I attempt Everest. And I said, I'm not comfortable with doing that mountain yet. So I did Everest Base Camp, just as a training. And while I was climbing Base Camp, it's a beautiful Himalayan, terrain. You go around, it's like a bend, you go around and round and round in the Himalayas, and it's gorgeous. And one of those bends, I'll never forget this moment, because it hit me like a bolt of lightning. One of those bends, I saw Everest for the first time close up. And Everest is so barren and so harsh, it's the only tip that's black, so you can see it from a mile away. So I've seen Everest online, I've seen it on TV, I've seen it in different places, and I've seen it many different ways, but I've never seen it like that. And I promise you, it spoke to me. I felt a sense of pull. My mom always jokes, تقول, Raha, when she saw Everest, she had hearts, she was in love. Inshallah, one day she looks like a Aris the same way she looked at that mountain. Because inti rjati, she's like, you came back and you had heart eyes. She's like, how can you fall in love with a mountain? But the truth is, I fell in love with the idea of climbing it. The idea of being daughter of the desert, of being bint Hay al-Rawda and climbing the highest mountain in the world. That's what I was in love with. And surely enough, I came back down from Everest Base Camp. I gave myself 12 months, 1 year, because I knew that by the time I come back, my dad حيحط لي cement boots ويحطني في البيت. Like, my dad was خلاص, he's like, you're driving me crazy. So I came back down from base camp, and I decided to climb Everest. And it was really difficult to apply to the top climbing companies in the world. Because can you please imagine the email, hello, top climbing company in Seattle, my name is Raha Moharrak, I come from Jeddah. I would like to join your Everest expedition. They reply back, where have you climbed? I'm like, the stairs. Like, the only thing I did was Kilimanjaro and base camp, so I had 0 experience. So they gave me 10 mountains that I need to choose 68 to climb in 1 year to prep for it. And again, the reason why I decided to train and to go was people's reaction. Everyone was so shocked when I would show up in Mexico climbing the highest volcanoes there, and they would be like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Saudi Arabia." And they would be like, "Do you even have snow there?" I'm like, "Yeah, some places have snow in the fridge, and we do some." And then they were like, but you come from Saudi and you climb?" I'm like, "Yes." So that's a lesson I would like to give you. Don't listen to them. Take their negativity as a means to change that narrative. Don't let it put you down. Let yourself rise above it. And I wanted to prove to them that I can be from the region and do anything I wanted and climb the highest mountain in the world. And فعلا, truly to my word, in 1 year I did 8 mountains out of the 10 that they gave me. One of them was in Antarctica. It took me 66 hours to get to that mountain. You can ask me about it later, but that was a very tough mountain to get to. The highest peak in Argentina, Aconcagua, altitude, and many, many people lose their lives there. And many mountains in between to prepare so that the company accepts me, because they weren't accepting me. They're like, "We can't take you because it's Everest and we can't take your responsibility, and you come from Saudi." I'm like, "So what? I will be a good climber." فعلا, 12 months, I got accepted to the team, packed my bags, ودعت my family. It was one of the most difficult things for me to do, to say bye to my family. I remember the moment my dad hugged me and he said, "Raha, you know أحسن شيء about mountains? You know what's the best thing about mountains?" I'm like, "What, Daddy?" He's like, "They don't move. Any problem, you come back down, you go back again later. No pushing. Don't do anything crazy. You're crazy. Don't do anything crazy. ارجعي, we'll go back again." But of course, for Everest, it's not the case. It's really expensive, it's really time-consuming, and you don't get accepted in the team. So yes, the mountain won't move, but the opportunity might not be there. So the pressure, my heart was like... So I trained, prepped myself, flew to Kathmandu, landed, met the team. Of course, people's faces, this is like 9 years ago, people's faces when I show up with my bag, they're like, "Where are you from?" But 60 days later, well, 56 days later to be accurate, after a lot of hardship, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, and a lot of negativity and a lot of naysayers, this Saudi girl from Jeddah, Hayy Rawda, crossed the very, very famous Hillary step that every single person who has climbed Everest has crossed, including Edmund Hillary, whose name is Steps. I crossed it. Thank you. Thank you. I crossed it with these feet. I got to the summit, and I stood on top of the world. And you know what? It didn't matter that I was a woman. It didn't matter that I was from Saudi. It didn't matter that I was one of the tiniest, smallest people in my team. I'm a bit tall for the region, but I'm tiny for the rest of the world. It didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was that I believed I was destined for this. The only thing that mattered was that I took the chance and found the courage to take the first step that led me to the top of the world. I touched the sky at one point, and I'm from here. And I am from the same background as many other people. Nothing stopped it. Nothing stopped my dreams. And nothing should stop yours. Nothing. If I could stand on top of the world and touch the sky, what makes your dreams too far from reach? And if you completely forget any of this, I want you just to remember that moment, is that it is possible. And when I came back down from Everest, I felt a little bit nervous because so many people were calling me selfish and it's a stupid sport and why are you doing this? And of course, the negativity comes with the job when you're in public. But people's reaction to my climb was so beautiful. So many people from around the world messaging me saying that I believe in my dream because you could live yours was so special. It stopped being a selfish one, and it became a selfless act. And that was very special to me. Not many people get to live that. Not many people get to experience something and be recognized and be the first and be able to stand here and speak to such an incredible group of people. So Sorry? Habibti, thank you. Don't get me emotional. I'm already emotional. And I'm wearing white. I can't, like, wipe my makeup off here. But yes, I'm not special. What made me different is maybe my ability to be a little bit stubborn or a little bit more determined in my quest. So if I can do it, you can. And if you leave today and completely forget everything I said, just remember that I managed to live my dreams. And ala qol my dad says she didn't only climb Everest, she climbed all of them to prove she can just do what she wants. You're capable of reaching your own Everest. Please let your dreams be a reflection of the endlessness of your capabilities. Be bold, be brave, because after all, history is never made by the faint-hearted. Thank you. Yeah, that's so emotional. Sorry, I get really emotional when I talk about my dad. But yeah. Thank you so much. You're a lovely crowd.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I can talk about this.
You're welcome.
Great talk, very inspiring.
Thank you.
I'm a sports enthusiast, but I haven't done any of the 7 summits, so I still have
You can start. I'm doing an anniversary hike to base camp if you want to come with me this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking of going back. I'm thinking of going back because it's my 10-year anniversary. Oh my God, don't remind me. But I think I might go back to base camp. So I might take some people with me. We'll see.
So I think we have 2 microphones here in case anyone has a question for Raha. I think we have some questions maybe online as well. Otherwise, I have some questions. So, okay, sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Anna. First of all, congratulations, Raha. I'm coming from Ecuador, and it's a high mountain.
Ecuador.
You can go to Chimborazo, which is the highest.
I went to Chimborazo.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
good,
I went to Chimborazo. Pero no cumbre.
No cumbre?
No, it was
good.
mucho lluvia. It was raining.
I've done Cotopaxi, which is...
I also did Cotopaxi.
Congratulations.
Yeah, muchas gracias.
So it's 5,897 meters. And when I did, first of all, I was single because now my wife, she doesn't allow me to go further than 5,000.
Take her with you.
5,000 meters are prohibited for me now. But when I did the Cotopaxi, I felt a moment, and probably in 8,000, you felt the same. There's a moment that your mind does not, so your body does not answer what your brain said. So I would like to ask you, like, what was your thoughts in that moment when you were struggling? And I believe of course, it's a very, very hard experience for your body, for your mind. But how you, with all this negativity, how you push the boundary and you achieve the...
Really good question.
Thank you.
I was so unlucky when I went to Ecuador. It was a snowstorm, and we attempted Cotopaxi. First, we couldn't climb it, and then Chimborazo also, we couldn't climb it. But I went, and beautiful people, beautiful culture. Really good question. The truth is, I was afraid. And if someone tells you they weren't afraid, they're not being honest. I was afraid. But that's what bravery is, to be afraid and still do something anyway, and still try to control your emotions. There's a term called the rabbit hole. When you're climbing and you get altitude sickness and you get your body starts declining before your mind. Your body is always weaker than your mind. So your legs start saying, it's hurting me, it's hurting me. Your mind has to shut your leg up. No, you're fine. You're fine. Oh my God, I have a blister. No, no blister. Nope. You might have 10 blisters, but your mind needs to be able to suppress your body, because your body follows your mind, not the other way around. I've climbed with some of the fittest guys you've ever seen. Some of them cry in the corner of the tent because they have a boo-boo on their foot. I've seen it. You can be physically fit, but if you're not mentally capable, you can't. Your body is what gets you to the mountain. Your mind is what gets you down from the mountain. Most important thing to train is your emotional and mental aptitude. Because trust me, when you're climbing, you're tired, hungry, and you haven't showered for God knows how long. My record was 22 days, don't remind my mother, with this hair. You don't feel like yourself. You feel like a monster living in your body because you're tired, exhausted, and stinky. And that's when the true character comes out. That's when the true you comes out. Because everyone is nice when they're happy and comfortable and warm and ate and showered and you got in your car and everyone can be fine. But trust me, the human soul, when you're stressed, that's the true nature. You can't do anything other than control who you are and control your emotions. It's really, really hard. There's no trick. There's nothing other than just try to be strong-minded. Muchas gracias for the questions, really good.
Okay, so thank you for sharing your experience. My question is, after you get to the top of Everest, what do you do in life?
What do I?
What do you do in life? How do you calibrate your next objective in life? Astronaut?
I'm so glad my mom's not here. I'm going to answer the question in two folds, because it is a deep question. In terms of the simple answer, yes, I would love to go to space. So if you have any space programs, please let me know. I would love to. Every single space thing that ever came out, I applied to, by the way. And I got accepted to some of them. So I would love to go to space. But the truth is, I don't hold Everest as the highest point in my career. It's one of many achievements in my life. That's how I continue with my life. I don't hang my career or my life on one achievement. It's an awesome achievement. I'm not belittling it. It took a long time of my life and a big chunk of my emotions. But it's just one mountain out of many. So yes, I would love to go to a higher point in space, but Everest was one of many. So if you hang too many things on one achievement, then you get so emotionally. So I would advise to always find nice, new things. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'll give you an example. I started beach volleyball very late in life, really late. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to tell you my age. The kids asked me my age. I told them, I'm not telling you guys because I'm not married. I started beach volleyball late. And last year, I got invited to play for Saudi Arabia. And I won. So that was an achievement I put for myself last year. It doesn't have to be complex, but just pick things that can ignite your soul. And then you will never get bored. Good question.
Hi. Thank you for sharing your experience and actually empowering us. I have a question. Actually, I'm a mountain climber.
Awesome.
But here in Saudi Arabia, unfortunately, I haven't tried it outside.
It's one of the best
Maybe in the
places
future.
to climb.
But I get engaged in life, and when we actually try to climb any Everest, as you said previously, we have huge critics. And what I see from your experience, actually, you use that critics as a fuel. Absolutely. So I think you are a mentally superpower. So if you could actually advise us how we use that critics to fuel us to pushing forward and succeed there, it would be a plus for me.
Such a good question. And I want to be honest. I might be mentally strong in things, but I'm a little marshmallow in other things. If you put me in the room with my siblings, I'm a marshmallow. I'm like, I want to be left alone in the corner because my siblings are big characters. My advice is what I mentioned earlier. Always take a critique or a criticism or a naysayer as an opportunity to prove them wrong. Don't wear it as a weight to pull you down. Use it as a step to move up. Every time someone says something bad, put it down, step on it, and move on. They win if you fall under the weight of their words. Unfortunately, most people criticize what they want or what they dream or what they wish they had. It's just a kind of human nature. Since we were kids, if you can't have the toy that they're playing, then the toy is stupid. And we take this and we carry it with us as adults. If he or she is living the life that I wanted, that I didn't get, then that's the life that is wrong. So be kind to them, because many of them are broken people. Many of them just are angry and sad people. But never, ever, ever let them take away from your glory and take away from your life. Never. Sometimes someone says one silly comment with me on Instagram. Usually I don't care, but sometimes it's like a bolt to my heart sometimes, and I'm like, ah! And I accept that I'm human, and I accept that I'm vulnerable sometimes. And that's my best advice, is that accept that you have vulnerability. Try to understand people's negativity, even though they won't give you nafs al-rahma, they won't be forgiving to you. And always, always, always take it as an opportunity to prove them wrong. Always. Don't take it as an opportunity for them to be right. That's a very good question.
Raha, thank you. This was great. Any advocacy in the kingdom or in the region with schools? Because there are in the world some awards that are given to high school kids that's part of the curriculum to climb Kilimanjaro, like Prince Hassan Award in Jordan, and the Duke of Edinburgh Award as well, and that's more in desert camping. But is there any involvement for you in the kingdom or any such initiatives planned? Because, like you said, it will help change this mentality.
Yeah.
We're a culture of fit-in, which serves us very well at different areas, but sometimes doesn't. And the more we equip the youth of this region to be able to think that way with such initiatives, that would be great.
Honestly, I'm not aware of an initiative, but last year we had the Saudi Olympics. So I don't know if you're aware of how magnificent it was. Both men and women's sports had equal winning pay. It's nowhere in the world. Nowhere in the world where the same sport, a woman and a man get the same pay. Very rarely. It's usually either or. فتخيلي get the amount of effort they're doing to empower. I don't think they have anything specifically. They have a climbing association that I work with sometimes, and I help. But it's a great صراحة suggestion.
It is the Prince Hassan Award in Jordan.
In Jordan,
and the
that's
high school
amazing.
Kids in the last 4 years. And actually multiple IB schools, the International Baccalaureate schools, it's a requirement for graduation.
That's amazing. Maybe we can put it to KAUST.
So, yeah,
we can suggest it. I mean, Kilimanjaro is a tough thing, so it has to be not school kids, it has to be graduates, because, it's a tough mountain, but maybe it can be something. It can be an award that we can discuss, because it can empower people. Mountains, okay, even if you don't want to be a mountaineer like me, you have to try an experience of hiking, climbing, or anything in your life one time. You have to. It opens up a door in your mind that just doesn't exist before. It's incredible. I really like the idea. Maybe we can put the presentation for KAUST.
Go ahead, and then we have a question online as well.
Great.
So thank you, Raha, for
You're
sharing
welcome.
your amazing. I just have a question. During your journey to the top, did you get any negative thoughts, and what was it, and how you overcome it?
Did I receive? Oh my God. Yes. So when you're climbing, you don't have your phone, and you don't have access to the outside world. So every single bad scenario comes to your mind. لا سمح الله, everything bad هيصير في البيت. Like immediately, everything is going to happen. And you go down a very negative rabbit hole. I try as much as I can to feed the positive side. There's a very, very beautiful story. I think it's the native Indians in the Americas that say this story. They say if you have two wolves, which one will be stronger? And the answer is the one you feed. So if you feed negativity and doubt then that wolf will be stronger. But if you feed positivity and trying to control the emotions, then that one will be stronger. So what you put more effort in is the one that will be stronger. But humans are built to have negative feelings. And I've seen people fully fit, fully capable, go back down because they think something is wrong with their kids at home. And there's nothing wrong with the kids at home. But they're like, no, I have to go down now. Khalas, like it becomes hajis in your brain and you go down. It really helped that I climbed, I didn't have kids because it's really, really hard to climb when you have family and kids. But I do have parents that I was worried about. So yeah, it's human nature, and the only thing you can do is fight it with positive thoughts. I used to always imagine myself in the beach, in a warm place, playing volleyball or eating my favorite food on an island or something, because you walk for 12 hours. I once did 20 hours of walking and climbing. So you run out of ideas and you run out of concepts, but the human mind is incredible. And what you feed it is what you get out of it. Really good question.
Okay, let's read the one online. What would you say to the girls who want to do what you do, but don't have the economic support of their families?
Really good question. When I started climbing, it wasn't a thing that you sponsor a female athlete in the region. So I did the first 6, I think, or 7 mountains from my savings, and then I went completely broke. And I tried to get sponsorship, and no one wanted to sponsor me at the time because it wasn't cool. It has changed. So I would advise the new generation is to knock on as many doors as possible. Start with something small. Start with a small hike or a small climb in the region. Build your profile, and then start asking for bigger things. You can't be an unknown name. Unfortunately, this is the vicious cycle of the media. You can't be a nobody and knock on the door and ask for a lot of money to climb a mountain in the middle of nowhere. But how do you become somebody if you don't have the means? So you have to build your name and build your career. And I know a lot of girls and a lot of boys that have done this in the last couple of years. Start something small project, do something, talk about it in the media, grow a little bit, and then next year do something else. It won't happen in one day and one night. It took me 10 years. Really good question.
Thank you. We have a couple of more questions prepared. One that I would say, that I would be interested in, what was the biggest challenge? And what would you tell the people in the audience, maybe like me, that haven't climbed any of the 7 summits yet, that might want to attempt it in the future? What did you struggle the most, and how can we overcome this struggle?
I think, let's say you have the means. I think the other big problem is time. People don't have the time to go, which is really, really hard. But I advise you to plan it in your year. Put time and block it in your year. Say, in this year, in this month, I'm going to do this. Put it in, like how you put your leaves, like how you put your everything, put it in. Write it, put it down, and start. It doesn't have to be big things. It doesn't have to be crazy things. Someone told me in a previous event, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, and I want to start, and I can't. I told her, okay, Inti bصحة? Are you okay? Are you feeling well? Do you have good? Yes. I'm like, then you can. Then you can. There's some beautiful locations close to home here. There are some beautiful hikes and trails. Start. Starting is one of the most difficult things you'll ever do. And we tell ourselves, oh, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. Yeah, but if you put the effort and you go, then you would definitely find the time. Like everything else in life, plan it. And then you ask me about my difficulty. A lot of people think Everest is the most difficult one. I would do Everest 10 times before I would go back to Denali. Denali was, to me, the worst climb I've ever experienced in my life. It's the only mountain that nearly killed me, actually killed me. It's a very tough mountain, bad weather, 0 assist. So you're carrying a 25-kilo backpack, and you attach a 25-kilo sled, and you carry 4 to 8 kilos worth of water and rope. And I was 60-something kilos at the time, so that's 100 kilos. And it's not Corniche Jeddah, by the way. It's like you're going up a little bit, and then the sled hits you in your back, and then you go down, and then you go. It's really, really tough. I had tummy ulcers. I lost every single toenail I had twice because I climbed it twice. They came back. My mom always says, "Quli lahum raj'u," and then they think you have ugly feet. No, they came back, alhamdulillah. So imagine, no toenails. I have tape. I have ulcers. And I got stress, eczema everywhere. And I didn't shower for 22 days. And no summit. We couldn't summit. It took everything I had to get off the mountain. We walked for 20 hours. 20 hours, and my teammate, so usually you put the strongest person in the front, weakest person in the back, medium, and then strong in the line, if you're 4 people. So we started off, I was the second one because I was the smallest one, and the snow was still here. By hour 8 or 9, halfway through, my teammate couldn't move. The person behind me couldn't, so they switched. So I was pulling the weak one, and I was breaking the snow, and it was like this. And then 20-something hours, I left Alaska, took off my boots, threw them under my bed, and I said, I'm never going to climb again. But 2 years later, put the boots back on, went back to Alaska. And the most difficult moment in my life was when I came out of the plane, because they land you on the plane. They gave me my bag, and then I couldn't hear the plane anymore. Like, when the plane left, I started getting, like, freaking out, because I'm like, I'm back on the mountain that nearly killed me. But I climbed it, and I summited, and I got the summit, alhamdulillah. And that's the lesson, is that even the things that scare you sometimes are the things that help you grow, and that was the most difficult moment of my life. But yeah, I finished it anyway.
Thank you for sharing. And maybe on the other side, what's the most memorable moment, or which of the summit or which of the mountains did you enjoy the most?
What's the most memorable moment? I'm going to proudly say that after climbing for 10 years, 14 expeditions, I don't know how many records, the 7 summits, my favorite moment in my career was not on the mountain. You know those doors in the airport, the very boring doors in old Jeddah airport? When it opened and I saw my dad and my mom for the first time, they were so happy. Like, I could see pride in their face, and they were so happy, and they were so proud, and they were just celebrating with me, and they went through a hard time because of me, and that's the most beautiful sight I've ever seen, is my parents being proud of their daughter after she did something absolutely insane. I think we have
another question over there.
Yes, we have 7 minutes.
Hi, yeah, thanks very much, Raha. Very inspiring talk.
Thank you.
I know mountaineering is all about, your own kind of persevering and overcoming your own challenges and demons. But you also mentioned a few times also about the team, right? I mean, you travel in teams, you work in teams.
Yes.
And maybe can you talk a little bit about that as well? How important, I mean, you spoke about naysayers, but how important were the people that did support you and your team members and mates?
Oh my God. I want you to imagine how hard it is, amazing question, how hard it is to work on a team when it's a project here. Please add to that you haven't slept, and you didn't eat, and you didn't shower, and you're in the same tent, shoulder to shoulder. Like, it's really, really hard. Learning how to manage team and yourself is critical. You're only as strong as the weakest link. And many of the teammates didn't want me on the rope team. So you were 3 to 4 to a rope team. So when I landed in Antarctica, I was the only female in the team. It was me and 15 special gentlemen. I don't know what they ate, but كل واحد فيهم ما شاء الله تبارك الله is like this, okay? Like, literally, both my legs was his arm, okay? They are huge. So I showed up, and I was wearing like, I'm very feminine outside of mountaineering. When I'm on the mountain, I'm like, but when I'm in my real life, I'm very like girly. So I show up, and they refused to acknowledge me in the team. Refused. They would put the rope team, and they would split it, and they would put me and the guy on the rope team, 2 people, and then they would put like 6 people on one rope. So one day I went up to the biggest one of them, and I'm like, why am I not on the rope team? He's like, this is why. He shoved me. He just went, of course I wasn't ready, but even if I was ready, لسه كنت حطيه. He shoved me, and I was like, why did you do that? He's like, this is why I don't trust you to be on my rope team. If I fall, you can't save me. You're weak. That really, really annoyed me. And I took it as a challenge to be the best teammate. I packed my tent, I cooked the food, I did everything I wanted to do. I wanted to prove to him that I'm a strong female, regardless of what he thinks. So always try to counter a bad behavior with a good one. I didn't go and I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry, صراحة, but I didn't. I wasn't like, why didn't you want to take? I'm like, no. I took every single step to prove to him that I am a good teammate. And guess what? When we went on the summit night, because he's so big, he started getting altitude sickness. I saved him. Tiny person. He was so huge, I'm not kidding. His armpit was here. Wallah, his armpit was here, and I was holding him like this. Down the mountain, here. My head was really warm. But this is how big he was. Like, he was here, and I was bracing him down because he was not feeling well. He was like, trying to fall. And that's how you become a good teammate. Put emotions aside, prove, do the job, do the work. I have friends for life now. They went from calling me princess to warrior princess by the end of that climb. Because they're always like, princess, princess. And I really wanted to punch some of them. But I proved to him in a positive way that his mentality is wrong. And just because I'm a female or just because I'm small does not mean I'm weak. So always try to counter a bad behavior with a good one. Really good question.
Thanks. Story.
Thanks.
Raha, thank you for such an amazing story. I had a question about the mental preparedness. You mentioned that you need to be mentally and physically prepared to climb such mountains. But how about during the climb itself? How do you continue to fortify yourself mentally? Do you pre-download a lot of motivational speeches and music and you listen to it as you're climbing? Or, I mean, how do you do it? And
the thing is, phones don't last long up there. The cold makes the battery die, and you can use a solar panel, but you can't charge the phone. The truth is, there's no trick. You have to train yourself to be stronger than what's happening around you. When you're in a tent and everything is going bad around you, you can only control yourself. You can't control your teammates, the weather, what's happening, nothing. So it's such a hard thing, قناعة, and تكون مقتنع, and you believe that what you can control is just you, is the best tool that you can have. And it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy task, and it's not an easy habit to have. Because we're used to reacting, we're used to getting angry, I use it in my daily life when I get angry in the road, or when I get stuck, or when I get frustrated. I try to remind myself that I can't control this, I can only control here. But you can download as many books as you want, but even if your mind is not capable, no. And be at peace with yourself and be honest with yourself. Don't be harsh. Don't be, I was bad today, خلاص, I'm bad. No, it's okay. You were a bad day. Make sure tomorrow is a good day. You feel slow today. Why am I slow today? Did I eat well? Did I sleep? Be honest. Don't be harsh. You have to be honest with yourself and love yourself. Really good one. I think.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we're almost done.
I think we have to come to an end.
Find your Everest, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have a present for you.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You guys were awesome. Thank you. I could see many faces and really, قلبكم, mashallah. They have nice aura, mashallah. Very nice vibe.
Thank you very much.
This is so cool.
Inspiring talk.
Raha will be on the Psych Cafe at 4 p.m., everybody, so if you want to ask more questions, you can find her there.
I love this. What's it called? It's